Toki as a playable character came out 2 years ago on Blue Archive. Since her reveal, she has had a major presence as a trophy wife, tons of fan art, significant number of doujins, and a very committed fanbase. But endgame players and even regular players would basically never use her in-game. Her kit is super flashy and it looks damn cool. The numbers are very solid on paper and you just can't say no to a girl in a mech suit. However, due to mechanics like the skill queue, combined with how players actually play the game, there were major impracticalities to using her. She was extremely awkward and slow. Her downtimes are too long for the payoff she gave, and for quite a while she literally crashed your game. So for 2 straight years after her release, Toki has only ever been relevant to endgame players as a second-rate option for certain raids. I say all that, but I'm not here to talk bad about Toki. I'm here because Nexon, in a recent patch on the JP servers, released an incredibly good bond gear that completely solves Toki's major issues. Let's take a look at what Nexon did to promote Toki from being a second-rate option to a top-class DPS. Firstly, before we get to what fixed her, let's explore everything that was wrong with Toki. I'll actually start with an issue that is not related to her performance at all, but I think it's pretty funny and it definitely added to Toki's reputation as a trophy wife. Toki, for the longest time, was literally unusable in many raids because she either froze in place doing nothing, or crashed your game if you tried to use her. This was a common enough experience among players that it drew widespread attention to the issue through many a Twitter posts over the years. The devs actually attempted to fix Toki multiple times, but the bugs would always somehow find a way to come back. A patch note in December 2023 describes a bug fix for Toki freezing up and doing nothing. However, I found a video as recent as June 2024 showing the exact same bug. It's a very silly problem and it would turn a lot of people off from using her even if she did perform well. After all, how many players want to be stuck with literal game-breaking issues? Toki had another minor issue on her release which negatively impacted her performance. When you transformed from her main form to her mech form, Toki's DPS on her auto attacks decreased. Basically, the attack speed of the mech suit was so slow that despite it having stronger attacks, the overall DPS was noticeably weaker than the rifle. This was met with confusion. Technically, it wasn't that big of a deal. Reducing the auto attack damage of a character that mainly does damage through her X skill isn't very meaningful, but it did bewilder many players on why it would even happen in the first place. Story-wise, Toki was hyped up to be an ultimate weapon unmatched by any other in Kirito's. Gameplay-wise, we're spending costs to transform her into a robot that shoots freaking laser beams. The actual amount of lost DPS wasn't very important. What confused people was simply how it defied expectations. The devs received backlash for this. Enough backlash that they actually had to hotfix Toki and directly buff her numbers so that her mech suit's auto attacks did more damage than her main form. This makes Toki very special. In Blue Archive, it is exceptionally rare for students to receive balance adjustments after release. We have had some students receive indirect buffs due to adjustments in game mechanics and systems. Others may have had their kits changed or descriptions edited before their release. However, to this day, Toki is the only student to have her kit directly changed after release. Sure, the gameplay consequence of the issue was very minor, but damn, the status of being the only student to ever be directly buffed, that is a trophy she can't put down. All in all though, these 2 issues don't really hurt her usability. Crashing your game sucks, but if a unit is strong enough, meta gamers and speedrunners especially are going to brute force her usage anyway. The devs fixed the decreased auto attack damage, but even if they didn't do it, it wouldn't have seriously impacted her overall performance. The real issue with Toki was that the coolest thing about her kit that made her so damn awesome was also her biggest weakness, leading to transform actively hurt her usage in basically all content. Toki starts the raid in her main form. The first use of her skill lets her equip the mech suit, and then for the next 3 uses of the skill, she will fire a laser from the suit. After the 3rd laser, she will turn back into her main form, restarting the cycle from scratch. Outside the context of the game, this doesn't sound bad at all. The problem lies in how the mechanic of transforming first, firing second interacts with the skill queue. If you didn't know, after using a skill on your skill bar, it is sent to the back of an invisible queue. You'll only redraw the skill after going through all the other skills in the queue. This makes Toki's startup time absolutely atrocious. Assuming you have cost regeneration on your team and the rest of your team is made up of relatively low cost units, it could take you at least 27 seconds after transforming before you get to fire your first laser. This is a long time. In a typical raid scenario, that could be long enough for the boss to fight back and ruin your rhythm, meaning the 27-second warm-up may actually take even longer. And even if the boss didn't disrupt your flow, any other DPS would have not only fired their first attack, but 27 seconds later, they would have a second attack. Okay, but maybe Toki does enough damage to make up for this. She's in a freaking mech suit, and she fires laser beams. That can't be weaker than a water gun, right? Well, kind of. The first laser fire from Toki is certainly powerful, but it's not quite powerful enough to be better than 2 skill uses of other characters. However, for each time Toki uses her X, it progressively gets stronger thanks to her subskill. Her second laser is about 15% stronger than her first, and the third laser is about 30% stronger than her first. The first laser by itself is not strong enough to outperform other red DPS, but if you consider the total output of all 3 lasers combined, Toki can stand ahead above her competition. So, all is good, right? Just fire 3 lasers and we can profit on damage forever after. Nope. After her third laser, Toki turns back into her maid form, meaning you have to go through the whole process of putting her back into her mech suit and cycling through all your cards again to get another laser. And the gap this time isn't just 27 seconds, it's twice that because you have to do the first full cycle to transform her and then do another full cycle to get the first laser once again. During this downtime, Toki's competitors pull ahead in performance, at least until Toki fires another full set of lasers, putting her on top momentarily before the cycle begins anew. All of this means that Toki is top DPS in one specific scenario, when she is able to kill a boss on the third laser of any set. Needless to say, this is unreasonably specific. If you're clearing content for the first time, you would much rather use someone who is not clunky and produces a far more consistent output. If you're attempting to speedrun for rankings, the scenarios in which you can kill a boss in exactly 3 lasers theoretically could exist, but in reality that hasn't really been the case. Over the years, speedrunners have consistently found a way to perform faster than what Toki can deliver in 3 lasers. I don't even know if a beginner would use her in missions. So much can happen in 20 seconds, so having a sandbag not contributing value during the rush at the beginning of a fight can absolutely be detrimental. And even when she is online, the lock-on targeting of the laser means that she might not have the coverage you need to wipe waves. So, beginners won't use her in missions, intermediate players won't use her when attempting raids, and speedrunners aren't going to use her to set records. Of course, being a live service gacha game, it's not possible for every unit in Blue Archive to be useful at any time. But there is a level of disappointment I'm not sure how to express when it comes to Toki. Like I said earlier, her major story presence and overall how damn cool she is hyped up in my head to be this huge dominating character. But after realizing all her setbacks, I must confess, I subscribed to a refund Toki club. I was part of this club for basically 2 whole years until Nexon gave her a blessing. A much needed change in the form of her bond gear. At tier 2, Toki's bond gear makes 2 very major changes to her basic skill while she is in her maid form. The basic skill now immediately activates when she exits her mech suit. Second, after using her basic skill in maid form, she will be given a buff that lets her redraw her X skill. Meaning, when she transforms, you can now immediately fire her laser. And when she exits her mech suit, this ability is instantly available again for her next transformation. This is huge. Originally, Toki was already conditionally competing with others in her terrain. But now, with her only setback removed, where she no longer needs to wait half a minute between transforming and shooting, Toki is now looking to find her place as one of the best explosive units in the roster. It's actually so much fun to see Toki blasting when she puts on the suit. The immediate gratification of the right after transforming actually makes it feel like you're bringing a weapon worthy of fighting nameless gods seeking destruction across universes. It's like winning a raid up in 10 pulls instead of 190. Nothing but satisfaction, like you beat the system. Okay, turning it back down a little bit, it's more like winning a raid up in 20 pulls, not 10, because you do have to wait 35 seconds to let Toki use her first basic skill. In the grand scheme of things though, it's not a big deal. You can invest those 35 seconds into doing something else, like setting up supports and preparing for raid mechanics, something you might do anyway on other DPS. It's all the extra time saved after the first 35 seconds that make the wait well worth it. So there it is, a fantastic change for who originally should have been a really fun character. I'd like to think that from Toki, Nexon has learnt a lesson on how to handle transforming X skills. Since Toki's initial release, Nexon has released other characters with similar abilities. The difference is the redraw effect post-transformation is built into the kit of these characters from the start. They don't have the massive setback that Toki experienced for 2 good years. In my opinion, I think it's pretty cool for Nexon to go back on an older character that prototyped this type of X mechanic and bring her up to the standards of newer characters. It feels like a grace offered not just to Toki, but also the players who have been really excited for her for such a long time. A grace that I feel is often lacking amongst gacha games as a whole. All in all, if you're a Toki fan, I hope you continue to have fun riding along her massive, bass booming laser cannon. If you were on the fence about Toki before, then I hope I've given you enough to consider trying out this older, yet cool, cute, and lovable character. No matter where you are about Toki, I hope you continue to have good luck and to have fun.